Peace and love, everybody. Salute to all my good people. I wanted to give a little bit of perspective to non-materialization of the Boots Ennis versus Brian Norman fight. And even more than that, I guess I wanted to touch base on what I think about the perspectives surrounding the subsequent result of the negotiations coming to a close. I think it's a very weird concept that people have in their minds currently in the boxing landscape. And I thought it worthy to bring up some points for us to discuss today and think about moving forward as we move into, other fights throughout the year and on into the next year and so forth and so on. I think it's a weird gaze that people have right now as far as these fanboys or fanatics or detractors and everything in between have right now as far as the inner workings of these fighters and a sense of themselves being overly wrapped up in these little corners when it comes to the fighters that they back or that they support or that they have an interest in for whatever reason. I think it's a weird position that people are taking, and a lot of the mentality that is going into the position that they are taking seems to berate fighters, seems to lessen the effectiveness of potential fights in the future, and it seems to provide more of a blockade than a solution. And I wanted to tap into some points today. And I guess the first thing that I would ask, or that I have asked upon looking at the landscape concerning the Boots and Brian Norman situation, is since when is it ducking to actively be engaging in negotiations? How is that ducking? How did that become a point of evasion to actively be discussing and setting and presenting one's terms? Isn't the activity the result of not ducking? Isn't it showing full participation when you are engaging with somebody? How did participation become evasion? At what point did that happen, you guys? I need somebody to answer that for me. Is it the fanboys that are putting out this nonsense and folly? Is this them putting this into motion? What is going on? Real talk, I can't even say it's the fanboys in reality, because it seems to me to be, the work of some random detractors throughout the boxing world and the boxing community at work here, because at least the fanboys have an objective. At least they have somebody that they back at the heart of it, and underneath all of the charades and the nonsense that they pull, they really do like the fighter. What's at work here just seems to be a bunch of fluff and detritus, in all honesty. A bunch of garbage being spewed about just for the sake of doing it. It is to the point where setting your terms and establishing your terms with the party you're negotiating with is now being labeled as ducking. Make it the fuck make sense to me, you guys. It is evident to me that what seems to be at work here is just an opportunity to scold and reprimand and criticize an elite black fighter. Okay? In Brian Norman. It's just another brother to downcast in the process among the boxing world. That's how it appears to be for me. That's how the story goes and how it's been going these days. Now, in the recent days, of course, we know there have been a lot of rumblings regarding, this Ennis and Norman fight. And as we are privy to, some negotiations were said to have been taking place between the teams. And allegedly, they've reached a stalemate. Eddie Hearn is running wild, giving interviews as to why, the fight didn't happen, and pointing blames and pointing fingers and all types of nonsense that I'm sure you guys are all aware of. Now, what is interesting to me is that it is precisely because of the fact that Brian Norman is said to have wanted more money in order to make that fight happen, is the reason why so many people across the boxing world right now, fans and media alike, are in an absolute frenzy across social media. All because this man is presenting his stipulations and setting his demands, as one does when one is negotiating. What is the outrage? Why are people getting in an uproar about this, you guys? I hear and see people all over social media, all over Twitter, calling B. Norman a duck. A duck? How the fuck is he a duck? For setting the parameters to ensure that his terms are met so that the fight can materialize. How is that ducking? The shifting from one convenience to the next on the part of these fickle fans is absolutely uncanny in the boxing world. What the hell? I simply just cannot keep up on how extremely fickle these people get by the day, you guys. Fans and media alike. So you mean to tell me that Brian Norman is a duck for negotiating his terms, for positing his desired wage? He's a duck for saying what he wants to be paid. What is wrong with these spectators? It's insanity to me. Is that not what one is supposed to do when signing on to a business venture of any type? Are you guys kidding me? It's preposterous that somebody somewhere in the world would be walking around thinking that a personage should refrain from demanding their terms for a job that they are signing up to do and get done. What do you want this man to get in the ring for free or something? To not be able to provide for himself, for his team, for his responsibilities? Is that what you guys are looking for? Do you think these fighters, have no one on their payroll, people that they are responsible for paying? What is this infantile mentality going around and buzzing around among these people with this mindset? It's crazy. Yes, Brian Norman asserted that he wanted more money, but what he was asking for was not too far higher a number than the rate that he was being offered. Okay? And for some reason, this is troublesome to the boxing world. I just cannot understand how or why. Somehow, Norman apparently committed an ultimate taboo. This man committed a crime by trying to negotiate at the table. What's crazy ironic in this matter is that a lot of these people are the same ones who wanted to ride the hate train for Devin Haney so bad that they sat behind Shakur Stevenson when those two were trying to engage in a deal together, when Devin presented the opportunity to Shakur to fight for Undisputed, and he offered him the 25%. These are the same people out here that were crying and waving all types of flags for Shakur, saying, oh, well, you need to give him more money. Even though Shakur Stevenson was unrightfully demanding a 50-50 split from the undisputed champion at 135, the man with all the hardware, he's saying that he wants 50-50. The fuck? How the fuck do you think Shakur was justified in demanding such a split when he brought nothing to the table at that particular time? Shakur Stevenson had no belt. He had no credence within the division at all. He achieved nothing at 135 at that point at all. But he's demanding a 50-50 split from the motherfucker with all the belts? These simps are out here running rampant with the selective amnesia. What? So it was okay for court to unjustifiably be making all types of crazy, outrageous demands from Devin Haney with nothing offered to the table, but it's a crime for Brian Norman, a champion equal to that of Boots Ennis, to make his demands? He's in the wrong for making his demands as an equal coming to that table? Miss me with the bullshit, y'all. I don't know what type of math y'all out here doing, but the shit ain't mathing, okay? You motherfuckers didn't carry the one properly. Y'all goddamn equation is all the way fugazi. It's laughable to me because, the inconsistencies among these fans when it comes to, their favorites, or when it comes to the favorite person at the moment, it's just astounding. It's astounding to me how people switch up pertaining to their convenience at the moment. It has nothing to do whatever with wanting to see great matchups. It has nothing to do whatever with wanting to see the best fight the best, or aligning certain fighters properly so that they can get to the best. It has nothing to do with that with these people. It just has to do with fads, picks and pets, and favorites. And real talk, a lot of the times it's not even centered around, like I said, with the fanboys, where it's with the fanboys, it tends to be because they actually are liking a fighter, that they back and support a fighter. A lot of these detractors are really just trying to knock pieces off the board just because they want to do that shit. It's some real sassy, petty shit. It's just a means to say, oh, well, I don't like this person at the moment, so I'll talk shit about them. That's the type of time a lot of these crazy people are on. But yes, absolutely. Brian Norman should be negotiating at the table because he is a champion. Boots is certainly a champion, but so is Brian Norman. He is absolutely a champion. I have no idea why this man is being assumed across the board by these people, to be, some type of lame or some motherfucker off the street or something like that. What's going on here? The man was elevated to champion for a reason. It was bound to happen, okay? Because Bud wasn't going to hold on to that belt forever, okay? So he was raised in his status to champion. He was not just randomly selected, you guys, okay? He was in line to receive that championship status once the move was made by Bud, which it ultimately was. So that means that whatever Brian Norman was doing, he was doing the fuck out of it. Okay, he was putting in the work so that he could be in such a standing at 147. Put some respect on this man's name. Why are all these panties getting in a bunch? Because that's all I see out here. A bunch of panties in a bunch every goddamn where from these grown-ass men complaining. And another thing that I don't like out here is that I'm seeing these panties getting in a bunch because, all of a sudden there's a bandwagon for Boots. And this is no shade to the King Boots. He's one of my favorite fighters in the sport, period. Okay? But these random ass bandwagon riders seem to be rallying behind this cry of Brian Norman being a duck just so that they could put him down as a fighter, which I do not like. I do not like that. As I said earlier, it seems to be an opportunity to label another great black fighter in the making as somebody valueless. And y'all know I don't stand for that shit. Does he really have to be berated, belittled, and run amok just so that we could support Boots? Is that how this works? All of this rebuking has to be done just to say that we support another? I don't like that logic. And it has nothing to do with necessarily, you having your pick as far as who you think would be the winner of that particular fight. No, your pick is your pick. It's not about that. What I'm speaking to is the mindset that says that one has to berate another fighter and his skill and his ability and his talent and now even his prowess, behind the scenes at the negotiating table. That has to be belittled just so that we could say Boots will win that fight. I don't give a fuck if Boots won that fight. It doesn't matter to me because those are two beautiful black men, elite in their skills, who will be facing each other. And that is what I support. I support the best fighting the best. And Brian Norman is certainly among the best at 147 next to Boots. That's what I'm in support of. All the goddamn pointing fingers and the, junior high school type of energy. I'm not here for that. These people are out here looking like some goddamn little girls with nasty ass attitudes. Like, what's up with this cattiness? I cannot stand it in boxing. I see it way too much. It's way too pervasive for my liking. Okay? Is there a pill somewhere available to control the sassiness out here? Because some of these motherfuckers need a handful of that shit. The hell? Now, for me, all in all, there is no doubt between these two beautiful brothers is definitely going to be a wonderful fight, a fantastic matchup. Okay? These are two beautiful brothers who are skilled, assertive, calculated in their styles, okay? Sharp. And I would love to see it in action. I definitely want to see the fight in real time. There's definitely no doubt about that, okay? It is the best at 147. And, for me, they are each other's biggest competition in the division. Now, I also personally think that this fight was positioned a little bit too soon, if I'm being honest. I feel like this caliber of fight should be held off until maybe next year so that they can build a little bit further. Brian Norman can build, his reputation, his stature among the division, because he is not as known as a Boots Ennis. And Boots Ennis can continue to build alongside Matchroom, which is his new stable. So I think there's plenty of room and opportunity to be had for them to do their work in the meantime. Give them room to work. To me, this is not a menial fight. Okay, both of these men are elite competitors, and it makes no sense to, have them knock one off just yet, knock each other off just yet. I found that to be too hasty, this particular fight. Build the aggression, build the animosity between them, build that competitive angst, build that heat, that ego, let them talk they shit to each other. You know what I mean? Build the anticipation. You don't just throw them in there and say, oh, have at it. No. Build the desire, build the passion, build that storyline so that it can be worthwhile when they finally meet in the ring, And in the meantime, Boots could be fighting, a Mario Barrios. There's Stanionis on the table, which would be a wonderful fight for either of them. Let them work. Let them get their work in. And I think it's a fight that could definitely be made sometime next year. I would not be mad about that at all. You know what I'm saying? And as far as Brian Norman is concerned, his stance is pretty much, get that bread, bacon, until it's a little bit more golden, the way I like it, and then come see me. And he's absolutely within his means to take such a posture. I'm champ. Come see me when you're ready to talk champ talk. Period. Is it me, or do you not need a champion to unify with another champion? Fuck out of here. Eddie Hearn also needs to slow his motherfucking roll talking like Brian Norman is some nigga off the street. No, bruh. Boots Ennis needs him to unify just as Brian would need Boots to unify. Stop selling the goddamn snake oil, Eddie. And also to the random detractors who are out here, emotionally galvanized all over Twitter and across all types of social media platforms. Y'all need to pipe down, okay? These are the same people who also called Boots a duck only 5 minutes ago when it came to Bud, right? When it pertained to Bud, wasn't Boots just the goddamn duck? Some of these people called Boots a duck for wanting undisputed at 47 instead of immediately jumping to 54. This is the type of mindlessness that's permeating the boxing landscape right now. It's astounding to me. The negotiation process is necessary, you guys. It is not something that can be bypassed when you have business sense or when you are in a transaction on a business plane and on a business front. It is a part of the process. It's part and parcel to the transaction. And you know what? Not all negotiations meet an amicable conclusion. Okay, some things fall apart, and if it falls through, it falls through. But the one thing that is made clear, nonetheless, during the negotiation, within any spectrum, and which is possibly more valuable than the negotiated terms, is the fact that there is respect that is put across. And it's a respect that says, you will not throw what you want in my face. It's something that says, you will meet me here, or there will be no further discussion to be had. That's the process. The party that you are negotiating with must respect you. They must do that. And even if it isn't by some gargantuan number that you give, you know what I'm saying? There's a halfway point. There's a median that is met. And that's where the two sides agree. And there's amicability and respect between the two that says, yes, I will meet you here. You will meet me here. And if that is not on the table, if that is not something that can be met, then what are we talking about? We are talking about nothing, and this conversation is over. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that we have to, end on bad terms or, have, any type of animosity. It just means that at this particular juncture, we do not agree, and we must relinquish, the attempt to try to come to terms because there are no terms that we could agree upon. It is what it is. Lastly, the whole situation between, the parties involved really brought up a poignant point and a poignant question in my mind. And that is the question of, if Boots and his team wanted to become unified champion at 147, and if that held, a level of great importance to him and his team, why would they not give in order to get? Why would they withhold if the ultimate objective at hand was to become unified champion? Is that not the goal here? Is this not about legacy within the division? Is this not about, the Boots Ennis era at 147 and claiming that territory? Am I missing something? What are we doing if it's not about that? Is it just a diva show out here? Are we just trying to flex? Is this a flexing contest that Eddie Hearn is promoting? Is it cute to just be out here, solely focused on, diminishing the reputation of a fellow champion within the division just to say, oh, well, you made such and such your last fight and we're offering you this? Is this a big dick contest? Or are we trying to solidify unification here for the legacy of the fighter that you believe is the best in the world, Mr. Eddie Hearn? Because it looks to me that Brian Norman was willing to claim his spot and mark his territory by accepting the fight should you have agreed to a simple augmentation, okay? He was willing to go to Philly to fight in Boots' backyard. He was willing and 100% not in denial of his status as the quote-unquote B-side in that fight. What's really the problem here? Is this a beauty pageant on the part of Eddie Hearn and the rest of the Boots Ennis team? If so, I want to know part of it. But as I've stated, it is a fight that I feel would be better handled if it had some more time to fester a little bit. Let it boil a little bit more, get that heat going, get the animosity between them going, get that competitive spirit between those two men going. It's a fight I definitely love to see either way, but I think it's going to be a very fiery fight once they do meet and exchange with each other in that ring. Shout out to both beautiful brothers, Boots Ennis and Brian Norman. Anyway, that's it for me, y'all. I've rambled enough. I'm on to the next. Peace.